Howdy Ags, my name is Nick Afflito, and today we are going to be discussing soil resources, particularly along farmland bordering the Mississippi River. This topic will be discussing issues of soil erosion and ultimately the deteriorating situation occurring along the Mississippi River Delta Basin. Before we dive in, I'd like to give a brief overview of how we can view soil as a resource. So obviously everyone knows what soil is. It's the main driver of our agriculture. Fertile soil is absolutely needed for sustainable agriculture and to be able to feed our communities, and not only our communities, but to provide adequate food supply for livestock and other types of wildlife.
The decomposition process of deceased organic matter, such as an animal or a plant, helps to transport vital micronutrients and microbes into the soil in order to promote fertility. As the breaking down and decomposition of these plants, animals, and insects helps to feed into what is known as the carbon-nitrogen ratio. According to the Natural Resource Conservation Service, in order to promote sustainable agricultural soil, that being the soil used in agricultural practices, the ratio must be at 10:1, that being 10 units of carbon to 1 unit of nitrogen. According to a census conducted in 2023, the United States is growing at an annual rate of 0.5%.
So you might be asking, Nick, what does population growth have to do with soil resources? And the answer is a lot. As the population of the United States continues to grow at a very rapid rate, and it is only expected to grow even faster by the year 2045 to 2050, we're looking around 0.4 to 0.6% annual growth. The demand for food also grows, but at an exponential rate. The demand for an overproduction of crops and livestock introduces aspects of soil erosion, which is the breaking down of these soils' permeability and porosity. The integrity and strength of our soils should be of the utmost importance, as soil erosion introduces aspects such as surface water runoff, which has the potential to carry harmful chemicals into the Mississippi River, distributing them into the basin, ultimately creating a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. According to the Johnston Conservation District, located in Johnston County, North Carolina, we are to treat our soil as its own living organism. Treating the soil as a living organism means to allow it to go through its natural processes of growth and degradation, rather than introducing anthropogenic impacts that ultimately lead to more damage. The first question asked in the inquiry was regarding the most effective ways to prevent soil erosion. In response to this question, McVeigh responded with, "The most effective way for farmers to prevent soil erosion is to keep the soil covered, preferably with living plants. Having living plants growing all year should be a goal for soil conservation. This can be accomplished by using cover crops between the main crops, like cotton and corn crops. The plants buffer the impacts of erosive storms that can cause soils to break apart and start moving, causing erosion." I was also reaching out with the goal of learning about the prevention of stormwater runoff and their potential to carry harmful fertilizers and pesticides into a nearby body of water. McVeigh responded with an alternative to the process of planting and harvesting crops. Another important crop management choice is reducing tillage or transitioning to a no-till system. McVeigh said this is because tillage breaks up the soil particles, leaving them vulnerable to wind or water erosion. Tilling is ultimately an anthropogenic process in which humans agitate the soil with vehicles and machinery. Prolonged tillage weakens the soil structure by breaking the particles down to microscopic levels. Several farmers in our country use no-till and cover crops to protect their soils against erosion, McVeigh added, providing that there is currently a soil conservation movement in the United States. McVeigh ended the inquiry with a similar message to what the Johnston County Soil and Water Conservation District advised earlier in our discussion on soil conservation. Soil health management systems in farming is another goal for farmers. Soils are living ecosystems that need protections for many uses. In order to prevent further damage due to soil erosion and other soil degradation processes due to anthropogenic climate change, there have been many methods put in place by farmers and agricultural leaders in order to ensure the health and stability of Earth's soils. One of the more difficult challenges that farmers face due to soil erosion is the positive feedback loop created. Put simply, a positive feedback loop is a self-reinforcing loop that continues to amplify a small change. The feedback loop of soil erosion is reinforcing because it exposes the topsoil that is being plowed to exponential levels of change during its harvest. These improper and unsustainable farming methods, coupled with unprecedented wind and precipitation events due to climate change, create devastating damage to the topsoil, resulting in them buckling in on themselves and creating trenches, known properly as gullies. These gullies have the ability to grow far and wide until they meet a body of water, which allows for easy transportation of sediments, excess nutrients, and pollutants into said water. One application used to conserve the soil on a farmer's land is the installation of what is known as water and sediment control basins. As higher magnitude precipitation events take place, the velocity of the water on the surface has the potential to flow more rapidly and with less traction and infiltration into the soil due to its erosion. Water and sediment control basins work to slow the flow of this water downhill to prevent further erosion and the creation of gullies. Sediment is trapped within these devices, and water is transported to a safe outlet away from the crop field. A study conducted by Iowa State University on water and sediment control basin installation revealed an 80% reduction in total solid sediment, as well as an 85% reduction in phosphorus concentrations within water runoff. The installation of these catch basins is ultimately to prevent harmful sediments and chemicals from being transported further downstream. They also introduce a magnitude of economical incentives for farmers installing them on their farmland. On average, a 150-acre farmland in the United States loses about $43,000 a year in revenue due to soil erosion. The initial installation of this equipment can total to a few $1,000s, but this investment toward a cropland's topsoil health makes it worth it, as the creation of a gully permanently damages agricultural land.